Welcome to the third video in the series of ChatGPT Teaches Python. If you're unfamiliar with the series, what we aim to do is utilize ChatGPT to teach us Python. Now, obviously, it's going to have some gaps along the way, and that's why I'm here to help you out. I'll help also provide you some examples as well as some coding challenges that you can learn along the way. You learn best when it comes to learning a new language by actually doing it itself. Today, we'll be covering variables and data structures. You may be somewhat familiar with what a variable is from other languages, or even from math in high school. If you're familiar, we'll cover it again, and to everyone else it'll be brand new. We'll also cover what data structures are. Along the way, I'll provide examples. I'll also add additional exercises you could do on your own, and I'll cover the answers at the end of the lesson so you know how to apply them. I can't emphasize enough that learning to code is not about sitting through a course. You have to learn by doing it in order for it to stick and for the light bulb to come on. So with that in mind, let's get started. As a reminder that we covered in the last two videos, the format in our lessons will be consult ChatGPT, clearly identify any missing areas that we could build on. As a reminder, this video will follow the format that we did in the last two videos as well. That will be consult ChatGPT, clarify any missing areas, and build to our ongoing project. With that in mind, let's go ahead and ask ChatGPT. All right, we're going to go ahead and pull up our ChatGPT search here. Go ahead and in the bottom, I'm going to type teach me about variables and data structures. So I have it run a little bit slow here on purpose because it's going to push out really fast. So as it starts to print out these here, it's going to go really quick. Feel free to pause and read it all off, but I'm going to summarize what we're seeing here. The first thing it teaches us is about variables. We'll cover variables more all this we will cover later in the training video. But the first is variables, is when you assign something to a value, like you see here for x equals 42. Data structures, which are containers that hold collections of data. And these are all different types of data structures coming here. We have lists, we have tuples, gives us a little bit of idea of what lists of tuples are in one or two sentences, and gives us an example in code. Dictionaries, which are key value pairs. And don't worry, I'll explain all this more later. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, that's fine. And finally, sets, which are basically like unordered collections of unique elements. So that summarizes what we got from ChatGPT. It gives us a conclusion and understanding of that variables and data structures are important, and that we'll go more on from here. So let's flip back over. Let me be your guide now to fill in the parts that ChatGPT didn't cover and help you on your Python journey. So far, we've only covered the fundamentals of getting started with Python. We haven't even looked at code. Let's go ahead and change that. In order to write Python, all you'll need is an editor to write the code and to save as a .py extension. In theory, you could do this with any notepad, but when you really get going, you're going to want to write, when you're writing larger scripts, you're going to want what's called an IDE, or Integrated Development Environment. There are many out there, and most of them are free. Which one you to choose is based on the flavor that suits you best. In the comments, I'll add a great video to choosing your best IDE for you. I'll be using Visual Studio Code as it is my preferred editor. If you're going to follow along with the examples I present, which I highly encourage, feel free to pause and download any IDE that you can, or use Notepad for now. Alright, enough with all that. Let's look at our first code. I'm very excited. Let's get started with the most fundamental first step in any programming course. We're going to make the output show the words "Hello World." What you are seeing now is the code that will accomplish this. There are two keys to note in this script: hash marks and the word print. In Python, hash marks are keys that can put in for comments about the code that you're looking at that is ignored when you run the script. You can see two comments here. The first, to let you know that this is where you would put imports for other scripts that you're going to import, or large libraries. And then the second here is to let you know that this is where you would type the word hello to display. The print keyword here is a designation to put what follows in the parentheses in your output. You'll see here that the print parentheses contain the words "Hello World" in quotation marks. These quotation marks indicate that what is between them is a word, or also known as a string. A string is a variable type. We'll cover types in just a little bit. That's about all there is to this first script. As you can see, it's very simple. Let's bounce back to our terminal and execute using Python and the name of the script. And the name of the script itself is Hello World. So you'll see here. Hit enter, and you see our display, our output put out the words Hello World. So you've gone ahead and tackled the number one task that you see in almost every programming language you learn, is the word Hello World. So let's flip back to the slides and go on from there. Let's jump over to variables now so we can understand what that string is that I mentioned. A variable is a series of characters that stores some value to be used in any way you need it to be. In algebra, you may have had this experience with an equation such as x equals 5. This is the same principle, that if you were to store a character x, or the character's output, you can assign it to some value. In Python, there are three types of values for a variable. There's an integer, a float, and a string. Integer is just a whole number. Float is a decimal, or a number that is so large that it may have a period in it. String is a series of letters, or characters. So let's look at the usefulness of using variables. I wanted to quickly show you an example of what variables are in the variable types. So you'll see here listed is we have a couple strings, an integer, and a float of what they look like. Strings, as you can see, are just a number of characters put together. Integer is a whole number, and a float is a number that's either too large for an integer or has a period in it. So if we were to run this, so let's go ahead and run it right now. You'll see here that we used our print. It prints the variables, the strings that we stored above here. So message was welcome. The first name was Celeste. And then these welcome messages, we recognize you as first, last, etc. So this is a good demonstration of how you use variables and understanding what types are there. Moving on to data structures. Data structures are a way of holding the variable types we discussed above. Imagine that you needed to keep a list of people. Data structures empowers you to do that easier than just using a variable. You can see the four types of data structures listed here on the slide. The first two data structures we are looking at are list and tuples. A list sounds like what you might think of when you hear it. It is simply a collection of individual data. You can declare a list with brackets with commas between each value. Tuples are just lists that you cannot change after you create them. Taking a look at lists here in this example, we see that we've put together a couple lists. The first is a list of names. You'll see, James Dean, Rainbow Bright, Minnie Mouse. And how you would actually add once you've already created that list is with the word append. You put a period append and what you want to add to that list. So Linus in this instance, you would add to that list. Another example of why you might use a list is for numbers such as ages. So we've gone and made our list there, and you can see all the comments here that help explain what we're doing along the way. And then we just went ahead and printed those out and shown what they look like. Remember, if I ever go too fast, feel free to pause the video, but let's go ahead and print these out. And you can see right there the output. All right, let's flip back over to the slide deck. Next are dictionaries. Dictionaries are a key and value association. Think of it just like you would a physical dictionary, where you look up a value or a keyword and you see a value or a result from it, what the definition of that word would be. Just like that dictionary has a keyword and a key value, so does a dictionary in programming. Every keyword does also have to be unique, just like a dictionary. We'll look at our code examples in a second, but let's loop in sets to look at those while we're at it. Sets are unordered lists that have unique values. Imagine you had a collection of social security numbers. Each is unique, and you would program your code to not rely on the order, but what is actually contained inside the set, so the social security number itself. All right, so with that in mind, let's take a look at the code examples. Maybe that'll help clear it out even further for us. So taking a look example at dictionaries here. As we said, dictionaries are key value pairs. So what you're seeing here is we're going to take some IDs and we're going to store the key. So ID A001, and the value associated with that is cloud. So if we go to the next one, it's A002, and the name is Hermes. A003 is Bianca. So we have all these IDs stored in here. You can print out your ID, and you print out your dictionary, by just throwing it in a print. And this will print out all these items that are in your dictionary. As you can imagine, if you have thousands in your dictionary, it might be a little overwhelming to just try to throw it in one print statement. So you may print just a single item like you see here. So in order to reference an item inside of a dictionary, you type your variable name for your dictionary, so our IDs. You put these brackets here, and then the key that you're searching for, A003. So as we can guess here, this will probably pull up Bianca when we print later. And then if you want to change any values inside of an existing dictionary, what you'll do is you'll take the variable and the key, so A002 inside these brackets and quotation marks, and you'll put it that it's equal to the new value you want there. So in this instance, we're taking A002, which was Hermes, and we're replacing it with Hercules. So let's go ahead and print this out so you can see what the print statements look like that we were talking about. And you'll see that it matches what we were looking for. So that pretty much covers an example of what we were looking for in dictionaries. Now we're going to take a minute and we're going to slide back over to the slide deck. Before we jump back over to the slide deck, let's actually pause for a minute and we're going to go into the second task that we do for every of our videos of what we could do to build our overarching project, the stat tracker. So we're applying the lessons that we've learned inside this video to the stat tracker to see what kind of progress we can make in building it out. So far, what we're able to do is we can print the lines. We can begin a menu for what people will choose to enter or display the information from the stat tracker. So let's walk through it real quick. We have a comment here, and we're going to print out our options for the input from the user to go ahead and put those in and decide what they want to do. So we've done 4 print statements to select from the menu, choose 1, 2, or 3. And then there's this new keyword we haven't discussed yet, which is input. Now, it's pretty easy to understand what it does just based on the word. Input is going to wait and take input from the keyboard on the command line of waiting for someone to put something in. So in this case, it's going to input whatever the person does. We're going to prompt that person to select one of the above. That's why you see these parentheses and quotation marks. And then we're going to store it in a variable. And then we're going to print out that variable. Now, bonus points if you could figure out on your own before I say what type of variable this is, based on the quotation marks. It is a string. So remember, the quotation marks always leads to a string. So let's go ahead and run this and show what we have so far. We get our menu. And then right now it will only print out what we select. It won't do anything yet, any of these other items yet. It'll just repeat what we hit. So 2, 2, perfect. So that's as far as we made on the stat tracker so far. We'll continue to make progress as we go along. It'll get rolling faster and faster, just like a snowball. Woo, we covered a lot today in this lesson. And if you realize it or not, you're making key progress in understanding and learning Python. As long as you make sure to keep working and keep these concepts down, it'll come to you in no time. I'm now going to go over the results of an explanation of the challenges that I put in the description of this video. So if you haven't done so already, I recommend you pause and go and give those a try so that you can challenge yourself and learn from the explanations I'm about to give. If you choose to end the video here, I do want to thank you for coming in and attending this lesson today. If you enjoyed what you saw, please make sure to leave us a comment and subscribe to the channel so we can keep producing material that you love. Thank you and have a great day. So to cover the 2 challenges from the lesson that we had this week, if you take a look here The first one here is listed to simply output these 3 lines. Hello world, let's learn Python, and sincerely your name. So if you wanted to look at the answer real quick, it's just simply putting the word print that we covered earlier, parentheses, and quotation marks, the words that you want to have it print out. So if you go ahead and put those in there, you'll see it executed here. And there we go, it prints out just fine. So let's flip over to the second challenge. These are both pretty quick. Now the second one actually will automatically compute. If you just put it in the way it is, it'll work for you. So I'm not going to cover a lot of this because it's going to be based on what you put in there for change. So choose a new celebrity that you want to compare your age against. Put them in there. So the line that you have to worry about is the name of your celebrity, the birth year, and then replace Taylor Swift's born with whatever celebrity name that you use, and it'll print it out like you're looking for. That's all the challenges that were for this week.